we see that walk-ins are up, and therefore pre-booking is down. So people are making, on the face of it, more reactive choices. Oh, let's do it. Oh, I saw it as I didn't have to queue or whatever to get in. So that is of interest. Again, that's in itself a challenge to restaurant operators, because how do I influence that? The answer is probably the same. It's still a brand. It's experience, it's reputation, it's reviews. People aren't just making a decision because I've walked past, and there is a whole digital economy behind that before you get to that point. Some of the other things that we see coming out of that is, this kind of reflection on emptiness and the atmosphere. And you've got a big venue and it's half full. Like, half full might be great, but it can feel empty, and you're not going to maximise that. So how do you have that kind of sense of, I've still got an atmosphere, a buzz?
Welcome to Captive Conversations, brought to you by Captive Wi-Fi. I'm your host, Adam Foreman. This podcast brings you the best stories from suppliers, marketers, and operators from our beloved hospitality sector. Now, let's get on with the show. Hello, everyone. Episode 97. Welcome back to Captive Conversations. We have Will, who is the director of Fanatic. Thank you so much for coming. We met a little while ago and we've had some really awesome conversations, and I love what you guys do, which we'll talk about a bit later. So thank you for coming into town and coming to our newly branded studio-ish. I have to apologise to everyone else that we have some scaffolding going on outside, so apologies for the drills. I will try my best to get AI to remove them if it can. So, but listen, we had Aaron from a Possibility coming the last podcast, and his two questions were: every conversation you have at the moment has an AI undercurrent. What do you think the real impact of AI in hospitality is?
It's a great question, and one at Fanatic that we toy with a lot. We have a position, thinking of the agency, called the dichotomy of AI, and really we want to use AI to bring out the best of human skill, which means in certain places we want to use it to be quicker, more efficient, to do more, work out better solutions. But on the other hand, we also want to avoid the slop generative qualities of AI and make sure we're maximizing that creativity of human beings. And I think that really applies not just within an agency, but within hospitality. Ultimately, we're all in the same business, which is pleasing human beings. So we've got to find the right way of making sure that AI enables that, not disables that. And that's really how we think about it. So in hospitality, you can see the real practicalities through really good stochastic modelling. When's my restaurant going to be busy? What do my hotel guests want? How can I do more of that? How can I understand it and adapt in real time? But we also got to make sure that we don't become faceless. We've got to enable guests. We've got to enable our clients. Hospitality is fundamentally about service experience, the best memories. So using AI to make sure we maximize that. So understanding our guests before they arrive, creating digital experiences before they even thought about booking, and making sure that whole experience is as seamless as possible. And AI can really empower that. It can give us some great knowledge that we wouldn't have just as, slow-moving, interpretive human beings. But equally, it's a danger we rely heavily on it and get it wrong. So I think it's that ability to know our guests, our clients better, but really make sure we maximise the human skill and attentiveness to make sure we do a really good job of looking after them.
Yeah, I think some interesting things here as well. So hotels have always done a really good job of really knowing the guest.
Yeah.
And hospitality is so fast-paced that in restaurants and in casual dining, it struggles to I'd love to see this using AI to help those hospitality operators who are also busy to make that, experience the same as walking into a hotel where they know who you are because you've booked 7 months before, your profile's already on there. They've done a little information on it, that sort of jazz. That's what I think I'd love to see that happen.
We're starting to see that, and we see that, trends come through in data. So with the right partners and understanding of, what's happening within a single site, we can start saying, here's a restaurant 40, 60 days out that isn't going to be hitting its projected capacity. So we can look at the operational side, but of course make changes, but we can also look at the marketing side and say, well, hang on, I must have a list of customers who really love this site. What can I do to entice them in through marketing? Can I turn it on automatically? Can I send a CRM? Can I On the other hand, can I turn it off? You know, if I've got a restaurant or a site that's going to be full, I don't want to spend any more time marketing that. I don't want to oversaturate my emails. I don't want to lure guests in with non-availability. So having that intelligence to be able to process that is one very, very clear way.
Yeah.
And I think the idea of this, you know, visibility of the guest, and even in hotels, you know, you that ability to go, right, I've got this guest in who's had this treatment before in my spa, and now I've got a new spa. Turn out that's the same thing can be applied within restaurants. Who are your clients who have the favourite bin end wine when they come in, and have that ready, or let them know about a new bottle of wine coming out from the same vineyard.
Yeah.
All of these are additive to experience, but who has the time as individuals in a busy, lean marketing operation to really go and explore that? Well, the machines can help us, but they can't replace the notion, the idea of the creativity that has to come.
Yeah, I think that we'll talk about it later, but the segmentation piece is really difficult, right? You know, it sounds amazing of what you're able to do, but again, in hospo, especially in restaurants, with the limited capacity that's out there, I think that's the challenge, right?
And it's often better done in service than in a digital experience. I personally work in digital marketing, and if I see an email subject line with my own individual name in it, personalisation, I'm immediately turned off. It's gone too far. It's too intrusive. But when I'm in a restaurant, I want them to say, "Hello, Will."
Yeah. I'm with you.
Take delicious steak ready for you today.
Yeah.
So there's a balance to be had with all of these.
Yeah, dear first name is. I think it just needs to be changed. Yeah. So it's difficult. It's really difficult. I think the email piece is still very much needed. Yeah. But I think there's definitely better ways of doing it, because you can have fun with it now, right? You know?
Yeah. I mean, it's ultimately creativity, and we talk about marketing, we talk about CRM and email, and they're two slightly different things, the data and the communication. But it's one of the most versatile things you can do. There's so many opportunities to enhance performance, to change through really graphically thought out emails that are very sympathetic to the brand, but it can also be overly done. If you get an HTML email in your inbox, you know it's marketing, right? So how do you look at the engagement? How do you tell a story through it? How do you create a transaction? How do you make sure people who have given you permission to market to them don't suddenly retract that and unsubscribe? You have to be doing a pretty bad job to get an unsubscribe rate. You know, so it's thinking about all those controls with email, but like with everything in marketing, it comes back to data. What's the value? What's the purpose of any particular communication we're sending out? And that's a really important thing we want to encourage. You know, whenever you're thinking of whether it be a paid ad, whether it be an email, you know, what is the purpose of it? How are we expecting the audience to engage, and therefore reflecting that within the content, and not just send more, send right.
That's a really good point, actually. That'd be a nice little clip, actually, to be honest with you. Okay, so the second question was, which is a pretty easy one. What is the best meal you've ever had? Bearing in mind, I do have other questions, like in the end, but what's the best meal you've ever had?
So, you say it's an easy question, but it's very hard. It's like, what is your top 10 films? You know, they change differently. I mean,
recently
recently it's a very simple one. It was my wife's birthday, and she wanted afternoon tea. Yeah. But we couldn't get afternoon tea at a point where we both finished work on time. But there's a little hotel nearby to us, the Aviator Hotel, which is great in Farnborough, next to the airport. We got married there, and the simple phone call, little conversation with their the central team, and they were very accommodating and moved afternoon tea for us exclusively to a time when 6:30. So we had afternoon tea in the
tea for dinner, which is
awesome. Which is great, and my wife was happy. And it's just that small gesture of, you know, they known customer of theirs, and we come infrequently to the venue, but they were just very accommodating. The food was great, naturally, because you'd expect it, but it's just that little accommodation of time that gives a great experience. And I can talk about great meals. I had people's birthdays and private dining and things like that, and that whole experience comes together. But it's just that little bit of flexibility, that little bit of making it something
It's
special.
The memory piece, right? It's the memory piece. Nice. Okay. So this tees on to the next question, which is the standard ones, which is basically the best hospitality experience you've ever had.
I think I've got plenty of worse hospitality experiences.
You know what? It's really interesting, because I had someone a little while ago who was like, I'm not going to give you the best, I'm going to give you the worst, but it turned out to be good. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Because they can turn it around.
Yeah, so. I've certainly had some of those. But just off the cuff, someone's friend's 50th special occasion birthday, where private dining in Pollen Street Social, Jason Appleton restaurant, at lunchtime on a Saturday, and it was just superb from start to finish. Just all the little touches, multiple courses, things you weren't expecting, just flourishes done with style and a smile, which was very, very nice. And yeah, just we all felt included. There's there was sparkle and memory in between every course and during. It's just that it was a feel of exclusive inclusivity, which I know sounds, but it was we were somewhere special, but we're all part of a team.
Yeah, it was those touch points, I guess, right? The touch points per course and stuff. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, best hospitality tech.
Ooh, great question. I mean, as an agency, we're dependent on many pieces of tech to make it work through, website technology, so WordPress in our case. But I think there's so much that underpins it all. I mean, OpenTable is great and so important for us, but you've got great alternatives in terms of 7 rooms and things like that. There's so much that I guess goes on that you don't see. My favourite gizmo that I see in restaurant, particularly in Spain, is the thing that cools your glasses. Get it out of the fridge, and suddenly you've chucked dry ice on it, and you've got a nice cover, but it never gets used properly. It's just a novelty. So I'd say that's a nice bit of tech for a customer experience. But we, I think, really underpin that technology of the digital experience. So from start to finish, building a hospitality website really well, because it's a guest experience, it's a client experience, and you have to be able to look at that website and use it through all the technology that supports it. So through data.
I really do think that having a good enough website with the right customer journey actually probably is a very good hospitality tech question.
I mean, it leads on to where does, I think this is from a operator perspective, it's very focused, the best meal in the best venue, exactly right. So but the digital journey is much longer than that, and if you have a poor digital experience, the expectations are lowered, and therefore it's much harder to. If you've got a great experience, it's easy to book. It's easy to find the restaurants. The emails welcoming you are thoughtful, timely, and not over promising. The request for review afterwards is done well. That is all additive to the very special memory that is delivered in restaurant, and enabling that guest experience. The front of house team are so important in restaurant, that they are that literal interface between guest and the restaurant or the hotel. Without them, it's all right, but they need that experience, they need that data, that information to enable that as well.
So I'll take your answers as website is the best hospitality tech, because generally it's probably for you guys especially it's the first entrance, right? Okay, so I'm gonna go back in time. So before you were at Fanatic, before the early doors, even like studying wise, did you have any stints in hospo at all?
Yeah, I have. Depends if you want to count McDonald's restaurants.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so I am probably a long time, for many years I worked in hospitality. My first real job was in McDonald's restaurants.
Love that.
In Croydon, in London, and I did that for about 5 years, and that is a tough, but I learned so much. I learned about people. We're working with all kinds of different kinds of people who come to McDonald's for careers, for part-time jobs, for jobs they really need to make money and to make it work, and all that wealth of life, and all the people that come in and the customers at McDonald's. And
how many stars did you get?
I had all the stars. I was at 19. I was a shift running floor manager, so they entrusted me to some of the largest footfall restaurants in the south. So that was good, and those were good days and bad days and hard days.
I can imagine.
Cleaning out fryer chimneys at 8 o'clock on a Saturday when everyone else is down the pub is not fun, but part of a role. And for a long time I worked in pubs as well. So worked in that side of hospitality. I was a relief manager of a pub, which is another tough gig. You kind of go on a tour of pubs in the country and do a 2-week stint of looking after covering someone's pub for their holiday. So you've got to come in, meet all the staff, run it well, have the tricky customers, have the strong customers, find out the different ebb and flow of that, and then another 2 weeks you're off to somewhere else. So
that's tricky.
Yeah,
that's tricky. I think it must have changed you so much, because sort of as being like, I guess, becoming a leader, but then meeting so many different teams.
Yeah, it's so diverse, and if anyone who works in the licensed trade will know that some pubs that are just tough pubs, and have to have a particular kind of licensee and are open and have got their tough regulars. Other pubs, what we might call these days more of a gastro pub and more about the food dining. You have that experience that you work through, but you are very quickly changing your environment and where you're working, and but you have to look after the team who's looking after your guests, and you have to make sure you're looking after and being respectful and guarding the terms of the license for someone who's on holiday.
Or upstairs.
Often you'd say upstairs. Yeah, sometimes they were shut down pubs, so you'd have to stay somewhere else. But all of it.
How long were you doing the shift stuff, the release stuff for?
I did that for a couple of years, but that's hard gig.
Yeah. So was there something before that? Were you like working for the brand, and then they were like, right?
I worked in pubs in as just management, as assistant manager, and after a while I just shifted into my manager wasn't going anywhere, so
So that's such it's insane. So did that shift your mindset of like, because obviously working in McDonald's, doing that stuff as well, working with the team, and then moving into the moving around pubs, did that shift your brain on how to work in teams and communicate with people?
Yeah, I think it gives you, just through experience, you just have to get on and understand that all people are different and have different motivations, and respect all those things, and work with people very differently. And you can't get on and succeed with that. You have to avoid conflict or confront conflict, and sometimes choose which one you're going to do at any given point. But instill a sense of teamwork and shared goals and shared ownership of solutions, and work hard. That do as much as you can. And but also no boundaries as well. So all those sort of teamwork things. Resilience is a common word these days. When I was doing that kind of thing, the word resilience cropped up, but I think it was just something you naturally had to show and deliver. And sometimes you have to let things wash over you. Literally, someone might be throwing a pint in your face because you denied them service. To the very, very grateful customers who have had a great experience. It's a family experience, and come out for a nice meal, or it's a treat for them as well. So you have to deal with all walks of life and learn to do so, and just get on with it.
It's tricky, especially the 2 weeks thing. That's insane. That's mental. My brain's just thinking about all the different challenges. So I guess it's quite nice. You sort of have a fresh, 2 weeks change, and then a fresh environment. Allows you to run around.
If it's someone you don't like, you've got 2 weeks.
You're okay. You're right. You're counting down.
If you've got, if it's a place you like, it can be a bit. I just got settled in, and now I'm ready to move on. But that's the
nature of the beast.
Yeah, we're not going to play the theme tune to The Littlest Hobo.
The nomad life. So then, what was after that?
I was tired of working in that industry. I'd done a lot while I was at university as well, and it'd been 2 years. And then I just wanted something a bit more stable, so I went into publishing, to sales. Back in the day when there were magazines. Before there were those websitey things that I seem to have referred to already today. But again, that was a client business. It's getting on with people, trying to build a rapport with people who you have a solution for, make those connections and turn that into, revenue and success for a company as well. And then, that was right at the start of the digital era. So, the end of those things you could get paper cuts on, and sending laser discs to printers on a Friday afternoon, but such things we do. But that was really start of how do we start turning that into digital, building websites for corporates, helping marketers understand the new world that digital.
What was that like? I mean, I was in it, right? I remember being at friends' houses, going to sitting on their table with a stack of magazines, because you keep them. You keep the last 6, 7 months, or friends would keep the last 2 years worth in there anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think this. If you're, it sounds like we're doing a bit of a history podcast here, but if you're part of something that's changed, you don't really think about it. You see, it's just kind of naturally get on. What is the next extension of it? And it was these, websites that for publishers, it's like, oh, you can consume it differently. So you kind of had to learn quite a lot. With no disrespect. You can go on publishing magazines at a weekly, daily frequency using the same processes. These are creating new processes. How do we get a website? How do we get our readers to them? And like where we are now, we have people who go, I only ever want to consume my media information on a computer. To I'm never ever going to.
I want a broadsheet. I'm having a broadsheet.
But that world shifts and moves along. So you have to find the right way of cutting through that. I think the real, coming from a commercial perspective, the real challenge was convincing people and convincing businesses that they needed to spend money on a website when they weren't going to see revenue from it, because people would happily, revenue subscription to a magazine, advertising revenue, would pay for print ads.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can see my print ad next to an article that's relevant and about me, and I'll happily pay some money for that. Oh, you want to pay money to have an advert on a website? No, I don't see the value of it. I can tell you who's engaged, it was a whole change of currency, and trying to educate and communicate with an audience. It's like, what is this? What does it mean for me? I've been doing it this way for many years. Why do I need to shift into this? What's the capital expense? Why is it capex? Which seems bizarre now. Yeah. But,
crazy.
The speed of the world of change.
Yeah. Well, now it's social.
Well, that's
it's insane.
It's the same sort of path as AI. It's like there are people who are, I never will interact with a website because I've got an AI agent who can get me a new fridge and order me milk in it, and that's all I ever have to do. People who go, I still haven't. What's an agent? What's a prompt? I don't know. We again, those are just shifting journeys. It's like, again, we still have the same conversation. Why would I spend money on ChatGPT adverts? That's available. That's a capability, right? And that's the same. History repeating itself
really is,
in a different way. So it's quite fascinating. The things that I was never afraid of technology. I didn't have a lot. I had a Walkman, a CD player, and get it to work. Out of things. People, the younger generation, might know what those things are. But you got into an environment where tech moved really quickly. Like, I can do this, and you only have to look at the difference between a Mac on your desk now to a Mac that I'm carrying in my bag completely today to see the range of it. But then Apple really started coming, the iPods. I think I can remember a flight out to the US in about 2005, where someone on the plane sat next to me, just nudged me because I'd worked out how to get films onto my iPod. I could watch a full-length feature film
on a little screen,
which I had. You could get your DVD, convert it into and on a little screen. But I had a full choice of whatever I wanted to watch. It was like, that didn't last long. Of course, then the iPhone came out, and all the store came with it. So, but all those small steps of what seemed miraculous for a small change, and now we're wrapped up into that sea of change of technology.
I miss the iPods. The iPod was insane, wasn't it? Good. The white one, quite thick, loads of storage, with audio and video.
Wheel.
Yeah, you know what? I actually miss it because with your phone, there's so much on there. Yeah. And the iPod just did what it did.
You had to be organised. Right? You had to think about it in advance, what you needed, and beyond that. It's still one in my loft somewhere.
I just think they were an amazing piece of tech. I just miss it. Like, it was just, I feel like it's interesting because now you've got people creating dumb phones that only do maybe a bit of music and nothing else. It's just, I find it so super interesting. But okay, so
it's the pace of change in tech, but it's about shifting human dynamics, changes of behaviour which happen at speed sometimes. Pause speed. So this is where we are. How do humans want to make their lives easier?
So then it's interesting, because Sarchies used to be down the road, and obviously now they've moved as well. But it's so different. The sort of the death of print media, right? It's insane. And everything's changed. It's all so changed But you know, I listen. I'm around the same age as you. I fully remember getting those subscriptions and waiting for it to arrive. You know, reading those magazines. You know, getting up to even like T3 on tech.
Yeah.
You know, getting
Right.
that sort of stuff. You know, and having a look through, watching TV, the Gadget Show, and all that stuff. And they were just like the norms, and it's so interesting. You know, like back in the day, it's just so much. It's so different.
Well,
But,
yeah,
you know,
and we you choose an interesting phrase, the death of print, but you know, it's more. Of course, yeah, print isn't as prevalent, but it's the rise of so many choices and so many different ways of consuming things. I think some of the most successful pieces of marketing we've seen now are a very, very timely DM, you know, the direct mail, so a printed piece. So the skill of that and the ability to create a different experience from the norm, that's still the idea. So still the same theory is there.
Yeah.
How do I create something different? When all the banners on your banner are saying the same thing, when all the pay-per-click adverts, when it's the same people doing the same promotions on TikTok, it's very difficult to stand out. And the people who benefit are the advertising platforms, because you've got more and more people trying to do more and more of the same things. And guess what that means? More revenue.
Yeah.
But it's the, how do I think outside that cycle? How do I create an impact? How do I do something different?
Yeah.
So print probably did die, but now it's used in a different way.
Yeah.
So making sure that we retain some skill.
Yeah.
You know, ask ChatGPT to make you a nice print DM. It's going to struggle because it
Yeah.
hasn't got the resource to do it. It needs people.
So then, after what was the next journey after?
So, well, having worked in publishing and digital publishing, the journey came quickly into agency side, understanding how marketers thought and felt, what they needed, how advertising and solutions could really help that. You know, the agencies came to me and said, look, yeah, you understand this space, you understand the sector, and it was financial services. And so, yeah, I merely broadened my palette, being able to provide solutions to clients in different ways, not just tied to one set of publishers, but have a free palette of everything. So I worked advertising agency for 10 years.
Wow.
So yeah, a big chunk there. Again, from even that early part was still, you know, how do I promote myself to this audience? And then we've got different choices now. So helping marketers understand, you know, what was value, what was cost, what was return, and understanding, you know, what made them look good, what delivered results for them as organizations, as clients, as a business.
I mean, but in the finance arena, you've got a lot more budget than what we have now, right? Where you are,
Well,
it's very different. We've got like $500,000 to spend. Let's do X, right?
I think it's the same as a lot of organizations. No industry is, you know, homogenous in that sense. You've got very small clients who, I've got £10,000 to spend as a financial services provider. It's so much more precious to me because that's all I have. I need to think a lot more carefully about how I spend that, how I allocate that to return, and therefore I've got, you know, I'm running a lean marketing team. Even the companies with the largest, I believe they're running lean, you know, and are trying to get value out of that. So I think in financial services, yes, budgets can be bigger. Costs are a lot higher as well.
I can imagine.
So, you know, things do have a sense of equilibrium that comes out of it as well. So, more budget, more choices, more quest for value as well. Yeah. So, you know, all those things come together.
And what was next?
And then I end up client side. So I worked, having gone that full circle, you know, I think a client said, actually, I need your services internally. So I went client side for 7 years and ran marketing teams in-house, all different kinds across Europe, and was lucky enough to take over, do a mat leave just as COVID started as well. Yeah. So that was, fun. We had to completely reevaluate marketing and really double down on digital and a lot of events and events marketing for B2B, as you can imagine, completely went online and change and support the team.
It was an insane time. I think it's really interesting when we speak to lots of different people that they pivoted. Everyone pivoted. And I think it pivoted for the better because it gave people to get more of a reach out of it. So Was it weird going client side, having that? Did you have a little bit more, like, I don't know, it feels like you have a bit of power over the people you're working with, or not working with, but the partners?
It was a little weird to start with, but then it normalized pretty quickly. I think one of the things that would always talk about, and I've got colleagues now who've worked on clients and now worked agency, and I think one of the things I learned is agency, while you're working with many clients who have very similar needs, you have to be so much more in tune with what is happening externally, you're naturally exposed to this, because client A will say, "Oh, can I do ChatGPT adverts?" I've never heard. So you have to go and explore. You have to be more in contact. You have to be right on the cusp of the wave of change as it's happening. It's harder to do that within a client at a role, because you're so in tune with the day-to-day heartbeat of it. It's very hard to carve out time to go and make sure you're doing it. So the agency actually becomes a really important portal for that, to understand, right, what are you doing that's innovative? What change are you seeing? What's a trend? What's a flash in the pan? What's really fundamentally going to shift the dial in the next 3-5 years? How can I be part of that? So that was kind of a useful thing to have, because I had that knowledge of what that was like.
That was out of the box. You had the out of the box. And the challenge you have is, obviously, when you go in client side, we've always, and the question and the term that we see when we speak to loads of marketers is when you go into business, it's always been that way.
Yeah.
Why do we do it this way and not that way? Because that's the way it's always been.
And that would be a T-shirt.
Yeah.
Talk about phrases that we use as marketers and have as T-shirts. It's always been that way.
Yeah.
And on the back it would say, but that's the worst reason to do something, because it's been that. You're not experimenting.
Yeah. I guess it's interesting.
You're going to miss the next big thing if that's the attitude.
Yeah.
It's good enough.
Yeah.
But it's not good enough at the same time.
Yeah, so it gave you quite an interesting view of when you went in, right?
Yeah.
Thinking of what agencies are able to do, and then going in client side, getting limited to that sort of like blocker and such. So, and was it in the same industry, or was it? Or was
it's the same industry. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah. So now I'm at Fanatic. I'm completely changing.
Yes.
I was in financial services for 20 years.
Yeah.
And, okay, it's not quite the homecoming because I'm not working with McDonald's, but having had that experience in kind of hospitality at a very formative age, and having seen it, now it's kind of a natural bed. And they are quite similar.
Yeah.
The more you experience, the more similarities you see. Teams that run lean, lean marketing teams, the pressure on marketing to do everything, to be the solution of everything, to sometimes be the fall guy when things aren't quite going right. But it's marketing and the wider business all have to come together to have that shared aim. How do we? I'm a firm believer. We have to make the client, the customer, have the best experience. If we do that, then everything will work together. We won't feel like we're selling. We won't feel like we're having to create new business proposition. We're all working together to have that power of the client at the heart. So where you've got sales, where you've got front of house team, what are they experiencing? What are they hearing?
I'm going to talk about this in a second. I just want to go back to, what was it like when you started at, was it the same role you started at Fanatic, or was it a slightly different role?
I've been when I came to Fanatic, it was very much we're a digital agency. What's our path to clients and helping clients? And so that's the forefront of it. And part of that is creating a great experience internally as well. How we all putting together, how does everyone work to a shared objective?
So what was the view like coming in from finance into hospital? It was very different industry, right? As you said, McDonald's to other. What was it like coming into Fanatic? So then the move into Fanatic, into hospitality. Obviously, it's a very different. For me, I quite think hospital marketing team, especially an agency, is a bit more fun. What was it like coming into the company?
Yeah, I think it's the different views of the same ecosystem, which is interesting, because your digital ecosystem is everyone has. Let's go back to our website. Everyone has a website, right? Even now, in the AI world, okay, the website purpose might evolve. That is still the fundamental central starting point for everything. It's where your story is told. It's where you would expect your customers to go. It's where you might want to drive traffic. Okay, there's lots of different variations around that, but that's it. And you've also got your brands that's telling your story before then and lives and breathes in your website, and then you've got your post transactional experience that lives elsewhere, and your actual purchase experience, which in hospitality lives and breathes in a dined experience or a resident experience or whatever it might be. Financial services will then in your experience is in a financial product.
Yeah.
And most of the time you're not living and breathing that. So it kind of gives a different filtered view on what you are marketing, selling, however. In financial services, because there's a very strong degree of sameness, the focus is less on the distribution of find my restaurant, come to my restaurant, dine at my restaurant, but here's some content that helps you make a buying decision.
Yeah.
So
you've also but finance, you've got way more data points when it comes to the customer, no?
You'd be surprised.
Really?
It's much more. What you have, in financial services is almost opacity, because I don't know who is buying my product at the end of the day. It's often not a transaction, especially if a lot of financial services are intermediated.
Yeah.
You'll go to your
go
to your financial advisor and buy a fund, or you might not even know what is in your pension product. Most people probably don't know. And everyone contributes to their pension fund once they opt out, but don't do that. I don't give financial advice, so please let's go. But so you just don't know. So you don't know, one, who's bought your product, why they've bought it, and you can just see sales coming in. So there's no transparency. So that means your effort, you're kind of working blind. There's a lot more guesswork. So there are certain points we have more data, but there aren't. Even, I wasn't really working in an insurance product, but even your car insurance, which is probably the most familiar financial product, most people use in comparison.
Yeah.
So even as a client working in that space, you're marketing to a different kind of intermediary. So the journeys are different. So all you've got to focus on is that communication of complex information, clarity, and trying to build your brand. Why am I going to buy this company's insurance product, this one, which is cheaper? What's in it? So your product marketing becomes very different. Whereas you can really focus on a complete single guest journey. Okay. I know this guest comes and they come every 2 months, and this is their restaurant they prefer, and they like this kind of meal, and I can influence that. I can bid on adverts in Google, and I can know what I'm doing and look at that. I can see what that is translating.
You can be hyper specific.
Yeah. The real difference, and I think this is one that took a little while for the penny to drop, was that restaurant hospitality marketing is very difficult, in the sense that even at that point where I've got a booking, I cannot assign any value to it. I don't know if that guest is going to turn up, and I don't know how much they're going to spend, and I don't know if I'm going to get a negative review out of it. So that part of the journey, the purchase, the booking part, still has a lot of uncertainty, and that's operations. That's the whole paradigm of restaurant marketing. Whereas at least in financial services, when that product's bought,
it's done.
It's done.
The unknown. So talk to me. Let's talk about a bit about Fanatic. What is Fanatic, and what do you? What does the company do? Let's just let's dig into the brand.
As a brand, we're a digital marketing agency, so we really support that full digital ecosystem, whether that be helping define and establish a brand, refine it, but really make it pop when it comes to digital experience. And sometimes you can have a great brand and it doesn't live very well online. So what does it need to do? We can build the experience, so we can start with a website. So taking that brand, building a website that fulfills both that brand promise and the client experience that's required to fulfill the promise. A team of developers, also creating tech and solutions around that website. So whether it needs to integrate with something else, whether you need an app to try and make that functionality work, building out loyalty, all that integrated system. And then finally, the journey, the power of the performance. So working with clients to understand organically, what makes people come to your site when they're referred by a search engine, an LLM, or anything else for that matter. How do we use paid? How do we use CRM and email to really bring people to that? So that whole sort of integrated digital ecosystem is really what we're focused on. And some clients have challenges in one part, some clients don't know what their challenges are, some are very clear, I want someone to do this, and we try and adapt as
so before you brought in the early doors, was it mainly just web, or was it always been agency across?
It really is design led.
Yeah.
So 25 years, the team now have been sort of right at the cusp of that digital part. So really focusing on how does this look good digitally? How do I editing a CD-ROM? That's only earlier. But from that, kind of thinking about the power of creativity, the power of how humans consume things, because they look good, they create an experience, and then that comes into that digital. So dev part of it came a little bit later, but quickly on the heels of. But that's still the philosophy.
Yeah.
It's a hygiene factor, right? Your website has to be secure. It has to be licensed. It has to perform. It has to not go down. Your data has to be in there. And, all those sort of really fundamentals are hygiene factors. But the whole interconnectivity of it being beautiful, easy to transact, and simple things that we kind of take for granted. Websites perform when they're updated frequently.
Yeah.
Because there's new information on there. It's not the same tired old experience. The search engine and LLMs are finding new things to report and boost it. But if you don't make your website easy to administer, if you hate as a marketer working on your website, guess what you're not going to do?
Yeah, you're not going to update it.
You're not going to update it. So even things like that, that piece of that understanding, you have to make that part of your website design and build. So we're thinking about that whole ecosystem of a hierarchy of not just the people who are consuming the website from a informational or transactional standpoint, and of course that has to go. But what's that whole hierarchy through there of users who are administrating it, and IT teams who need to make sure it's secure. So we're thinking about all that as well. So
it's a stack. It's not just your hospitality stack of like POS and everything. It's the next level up. We've seen in the past so many people that have like WordPress sites that don't get updated and consistently being hacked, and the redirection to porn and other search engines. It's obviously less now, but when people just leave it, so it's interesting because people don't see I'm not a WordPress expert. I tinker with it, and every so often I'll see a message from someone I know being like, "Help! I don't know what's happened." But every time I click on "Contact Us," it takes me to a Chinese website. Yeah. So and we look in. We log in, and we're like, "Okay, so you've you're 7 versions out. You should really update it." And so on. So I think that is really interesting. And it's getting worse. They're finding more and more. Like if we look at like what Claude Mythos is doing for Amazon and for Microsoft and so on. It's just it's endless of what could happen. So I think your digital journey online is so important to protect now, because anything can be anything.
And that, going back to that dichotomy of AI, that's exactly it. Of course, I want to do this quicker. I want to do this. Don't want to have kind of a long umbilical cord to my agency every time I want to update something. And here's a bill. Kind of avoid that part as well. But AI, you still need this human creativity, and you can build websites quickly, cheaply with AI. Yeah. But the risk is you're doing it from you're doing
it's a layman term. Is it? Yeah, I'm literally
you're doing it. You are not fundamentally understanding the whole architecture. And this is why should I have an AI website? Well, you don't only underlying code. So what happens to that in the future?
I'm now getting phone calls from our clients going, "Oh, look, Squarespace is up for renewal." I'm like, "Okay, why are you with Squarespace anyway?" But Squarespace is up for renewal. Can we just make one with AI? And I'm like, I wouldn't. I'm like, you can, and then where are you going to put it? And he goes, "Oh, don't you have a web server?" I'm like, "Not really, but I mean, you can host it somewhere." So what are you going to do? How are you going to edit it? So they are really interesting questions of, yes, you can make amazing websites with AI, but where's the CMS? Where's the editor behind it? Where's the people managing it?
And these are still fundamental questions that need to be answered. Own your own data. Yeah. If you do not own your own data, you're losing. long term.
And also, if they're building it themselves, there's no thought process of the knowledge of 25 years of knowledge of the LLMs and the SEO and their method, all the, I mean, everything that goes behind an individual page that needs to be found. It's interesting because I think in the next 6 months, I mean, it's changing so quickly. I can see in the next 6 months, people are just spinning up their own stuff and it just disappearing off of Google. Bearing in mind, Gemini is more of a search now than anything else. I reckon I can imagine some people who are like, I'm going to save a ton of money. I'm not going to pay the agency. I'm going to build this myself. And then a phone call back of like, everything's dropped.
I think we definitely see that. I think some of the risks are longer term. You know, you definitely don't want to lose your data. You don't have that hacked or stolen, but you also want to protect your IP. You know, if you're using, we don't know what the long term implications of this are. You know, something like WordPress and you mentioned Squarespace. These all are great web building tools that have their place, and you've got to know what the place is and where you need to be as a client or marketer to use those. But what you don't want is in 5 years' time, someone's going, hang on, you don't actually own the IP for your site. It's come down. Is it extendable? Is it licensed? Is it yours?
Yeah.
These are really important, deep questions to ask, and not I've spun it up cheaply. That's the other side of that coin. I think one of my dev teams said it quite interestingly. I think the metaphor that's bandied around about LLMs and AI is often, well, do you remember those farmers who were standing in the field with their horses and going, I don't need a combine harvester, and of course everyone's combine harvester. The point isn't that the horse or the combine harvester, the point is the farmers are still there. They have to know how to use, you can still use a horse to plough your field. Combine harvester does it better, but you still need that expertise to know what is right for you and how to get the best out of it.
I think I'm not going to tee off into AI a lot, but I literally had a LinkedIn message today from someone who connected to me, who I don't know, who basically, it was a sales piece, right? It was, are you tired of spam in your inbox? We've built a tool, and it was a domain. It was like spamyourinbox.vercel.io, and I was literally like, this guy has gone onto LinkedIn, he's built his own app with AI, and is now trying to sell it. But where's all the terms? I literally went to the website. There was like not much there. I'm like, the worry of people just signing up for AI built platforms now with no developer behind it is I think a real worry. No?
Yeah, I think we worry about it, and our job is to say, not be defensive, protective of technology. We need to evolve it according to what is.
Well, you're protective of their brand, right?
I think that would be protective of their brands, the infrastructure. Worst thing we have is we end up with a client who's lost because that they can't operate in the same way because something's happened that's fundamentally changed it. I think, again, going back to the whole digital piece, it's the importance of absolutely every single touch point. One bad review, one fake review can do much more.
But not only that, the review piece is really interesting. Obviously, we work into that as well. I find it really interesting because there's some brands that have got a mix of different reviews and it's just been left. Because then there's the resource piece as well. And there are other platforms out there that have tools to plug in. But again, it's another monthly subscription to spend, which no one really wants to spend. We're talking back into where you are. When you look at onboarding a customer, is it the whole view? So it's digital plus CRM plus everything. Is it what's the view?
Yeah, I mean, we try and look at clients in a twofold way. And one is them as a business. What does that business need? What parts of it are strong? What parts of it might need a little bit more attention? How do we help that business be more successful? Digital marketing is a business success tool. Do it well, you succeed. Do it badly, you've got risk. We also look at it as a personal level as well. So, the person who appoints us, whether it be a manager, whether it be even a freelancer, as happens, whether it be a CMO or even a business owner, we have all that range. We want to understand what they're trying to do, what is their objective, how are they going to come to the end of the year and go, I've had a really successful year because of X, and understand that. Now, that's a long way to say it could be any part of that journey, and we have to try and take ourselves out of what's being asked and look at, from those two angles, what is the question. My CRM's not performing, right? Well, is it something entirely separate from your CRM that is manifesting as a CRM kind of piece? My director has gone down, whatever. Is it, I need a new website? Do you need a new website? Does it just need some indexing fixing, or is it your brand that isn't translating on it? Is there something else going on? So we have to kind of look at what the range of solutions could be. And sometimes, that's not to say you've asked for a website, you're going to get a website, but we want to look at that whole
holistically, right?
Piece and go, we think you've got some opportunity here. We think there's here. Go and get your team to do this, and this is where we will. It's
very different from other agencies we've spoken to, because if someone goes to a website and then goes to like an agency for a website, they'll be like, "Here's 10 grand for the website." Yeah, so it's refreshing to be honest with you, because it is important to understand the challenges behind what's going on. So I think and especially in hospitality, someone will go to a web guy that would just build it but not look at the reality of actually the website's not that bad, but then there are some tweaks that you can make to make it better. Same with the CRM, right? Is it just stale data? I spoke to a client the other day. They've got so much data, and multiple sources, and they just overloaded with everything. Trying to centralize everything is so difficult.
That's it. And what are quick wins that change things now? Spending £10,000, £20,000 on a new website might not be the right answer. In fact, you're better off reinvesting it, or you need to spend more. So don't try and do £10,000 fix now, because that's not the right answer. You can live with that for another until you kind of get the budget. And we have clients where we've gone, honestly, we can do some SEO for you, we can do some accessibility, but that's a sunk cost you're not going to get back, because really you need a new website. Don't spend that now. Keep that budget.
Use
put it to
this.
one side. When you get next year's budget, take the same chunk again, and then do it, or let's front run it now, or whatever it might be. Find the right solution to get the performance out for you as an individual in a hospitality business, or you as a hospitality business, and invariably the two work hand in hand.
Nice. Well, I just want to go back to your devs and the LLMs and the AEO, because it's a big thing that people are just terrified about, and it's a big topic at the moment, especially with obviously the ChatGPT ads and stuff, which is really interesting. I'm so interested. I want to talk to you about that later.
Please, £1 million to start. Please.
But the LLMs and the AEO. There's some really cool tools out there now that will audit your website and have a look at what you've got. God, you must be like, as soon as AI has gone absolutely mental, especially for search, right? So Gen A, Gen Z, TikTok for search, great, that's fine. Everyone else, an old generation will be either on the ChatGPT asking for stuff, and then it will pull in those search results, or even Claude asking you to build that report. I mean, my friends went on to Grok to look for a holiday, and I was like, that's impressive. I mean, was that a jump? I mean, obviously you are aware of what's happening anyway, because you're in it. What's that like at the moment? And was it like a, oh, okay, we really need to focus, or was it like, okay, we know what's happening?
I think, no one really knows what's happening, I think would be a fair conclusion, except some things are happening. So I think our standpoint is look, understand, and try and go deeper. Our job is to go deep. So by going deep enough, we can come back and say, this is the level challenge, right? It's still about informational flow, right? That is your basic equation. For any customer journey, you're looking for information. Where am I getting? The interfaces to get that information change, but you could draw a very complicated hierarchy of all the different things in there. Websites are foundational in providing that and need to kind of adapt to the different entry points in there. I think the other thing that we're very conscious of is not just jumping on bandwagons to promote agency services. That can happen quite a lot. And there is this kind of what I'd call a secondary market of services that spring up from any change. We go back to the website. Well, hang on. The secondary market that came out was Google. Was tracking and performance. You still make, and again, like you just said with AI, it's kind of understanding AI search performance. But there are things that are very light because they were quick, and things that are very deep and become very expensive. What do I need to know? Comes back to the question. So, we kind of see, yes, you've still got a central website. It has to be accessible. That is both accessible in terms of data, but accessible to humans. So it needs to be well structured. It needs to allow all kinds of people to have keyboard access. If you do a good job there, guess what? You're doing a good job for the machine as well. So making sure you're aware of how those different entry points to that ecosystem vary in what they need. So making sure we've got that web CME, you know, all those things. So we've got LLMs.text. So little things which we don't even know if they work or think, but the industry kind of says we should do.
Yeah.
And then with performance going deeper, you know, understanding. So there was a big, you know, probably a year ago, I saw this, you know, Brighton SEO, get your AI, SEO sorted out, get your geo, we're doing this, here's quick. So it wasn't very deep. It wasn't very difficult. You know, we've spent in our teams time to go deep and understand that. And it's like, there is a quite big difference. And we might bracket under the same umbrella of, you know, LLM, SEO performance, organic performance. And, you know, when you look at how human beings, and I keep emphasizing it, what we're still trying to do is please human beings. How they use a search engine compared to an LLM is substantially different. So we can't treat that logic in the same way. So an average conversation with an LLM, it's a conversation, not a search, is 6 terms, 6 prompts. So we can't just go, am I performing and ranking in search one? That was the old currency of organic, of search. Now we have to do a multi-turn discovery. Let's go, if I've asked, which restaurant should I go to tonight? The conversation has 6 terms. So
I quite like X.
Not just being at the top, but making sure you're all the way through there is important. Now that is deep analysis. You cannot do it. And with the hyper-personalization that an LLM, an AI agent comes to know you as a human with.
And the memory, right? Remembers
and has to really take that into account on the journey. So in order to build the right informational capacity for a website, for search, for third-party platforms, we have to understand the journey that goes through. And that takes time to go deep and understand that. And it's not simple. And as you say, there's Grok, there's ChatGPT, there's Gemini, there's Claude, plus there's a whole range more that's integrated into everything else. So how do we understand that before we can really give you? But of course, we're giving you advice at the same time. You know, you weren't doing anything wrong before. Hopefully.
You know, I think
it's making sure we're still on that journey.
I think what I find really funny is that obviously when you hit there's obviously tags, right? So whenever you get a website view from LinkedIn, you get a website view from Gemini, there's the UTM tags, right? Or there's the tags that tell you. I can't wait for someone to put on the front page of their website, ChatGPT says we're ChatGPT says we're good, so that you should book. You know what I mean? I want someone to build that little, because it's just a referral, just changing a bit of text. I think I just love to see that going to an online store, for example, because retail are way ahead, right? They're way ahead of us when it comes to the Shopify piece is just so way ahead of hospitality. We're slowly getting there. But I think I would love to see, it'd be hilarious just to, Gemini, someone does a search in Gemini, clicks the link and then boom, hits the page and the tag comes from Gemini and then you've got the thumbs up from Gemini with a little logo saying, Gemini sent you here, so it's worth you staying. Something like that. I think just like playing it by fun, it would just be hilarious.
I think it would be fun, but we are, as an industry, we're not retail, we're not high street, we're not selling a product which has the same value to every person every time. We're selling an experience which is unique to the individual. Someone can come to the same restaurant at the same time on 2 different days and have an entirely different experience, or the same person goes to the same restaurant at the same time and be wanting a different experience because it's someone's birthday versus someone's wedding anniversary, right? So what could feel like commodities, it's a restaurant booking, are not. They're so personalized. So that's why I think the challenge and the beauty of hospitality marketing comes to bear, because we can't sell the same dining experience once. To use an old metaphor, which every time it has to be unique and different. Therefore, the human experience of what we're doing is fundamental. Important.
I think one of the things that frustrates me slightly, and the reservations companies aren't going to be happy with me saying this, is that when you send an email, when you book a table on the main platforms that are out there, it's when it's done, when the email comes from the booking platform, it's still just you booked a table.
Yeah. Well done.
And well done, pat on the head. And there's no, unless the team have got a good reservations team, or you've been put in, and then once you're in, then someone will see it and it gets flagged. Great. Or when you get there, your tags are in there, which is fine.
Yeah.
But I think there's definitely a missing piece of, and some of the platforms out there that you and I both work with are combating that option.
Yeah, and I think it is that sum totality of what the individual dining experience is. There is a hygiene factor to say, yes, your table is ready and confirmed, and if you don't get that, you create a sense of worry, particularly if it's okay.
But you could customize that beautifully.
You can, you can of course do that, but it's not to diminish the kind of necessity for the hygiene factor itself. It has to have that functionality and purpose. Okay, it came from OpenTable. Well, hang on, whose customer am I really? That's where we don't want to be. But how do we make that full journey? Have we thought about it? Have we thought about what's the transactional element? What's the real selling of the service?
So if you go to hotels, you've got the pre and the post. You sort of have that a little bit in some hospitality. If the brands have got the customer journey set up right, you've got that set up. But the tools plugged into retail and in the hotel industry compared to restaurants, it's so different. It's just so different, and it's not super easy for most people to get it set up. I think there's definitely a need, and there are better platforms now helping, right? So there are out there some really cool tech where you can make that journey look really nice, and you can do the pre and post and so on. And I think I think things are changing soon, which is nice, and people are slowly getting into the route. But I want for me, when I book a table, I want it to know, it knows that I've been there 5 times. It knows that I've opted into marketing. It knows that I've left good reviews. It knows I've spent X amount of money. That email, I just want that message to be
extra.
I just want to be I want to be loved. I want the message to be like, thanks so much for choosing us again.
But that data is there.
Yeah.
And it only takes, the marketing, the business to want to unlock it. The platforms are interconnected. If you've got a data warehouse, you've got a platform, have you got an aspiration to have a single guest profile? That's personal to you as a enterprise, as an organization. And then if you've got that, how do you want to use it? And it can be tricky. We have to make data-led decisions, but also organize it. Who do I want to be? There's a common myth that data and marketing can solve everything. You must know everything. You know everything. Well, it's not. It's indicative. What was the value of that email that came into my inbox at 4:00 on a Friday when I wasn't thinking about a restaurant I wanted to book? Has it got any value? We'd argue it must do.
Yeah.
And we see very famous commentators far more than I that the bits you don't understand, the place where you're prepared to invest in the magic, the non-data led.
Yeah.
That's the most important part. I can't track that value. The old adage of, I know 10% of my advertising is wasted. I don't know which 10%. That is true in the whole of a marketing experience. We can't just sweat it down to the raw data details, but having the aspiration to go, I do want to personalize that, because I don't want to say, dear Adam, welcome to your 6th journey. This might put you off. But
true.
What is my brand? What is the experience? What is the purpose? So I always think coming back to purpose. Purpose is really important when we think about how do I want to communicate, both as an organization to an individual diner and in each marketing mix. We've got to think about that and bring that out. And maybe that's brand, but brand and purpose are separate, but they've got to go together. And it has to be, why am I sending more emails? Why am I doing this campaign? Of course, I want more diners, but which ones? And how is the diner going to consume that email? How are they going to experience it? How are they going to see that wonderful TikTok video, which makes it, and we have to think about that. And it seems obvious, but it doesn't happen all the time. I'm just going to send some more emails.
Yeah. I'm quiet. I'm going to send an email. Like I sent one last week, but it's fine. I'll send another one this week. Yeah. I think, listen, I think from what we see, lots are changing. Some brands have realized actually better segmentation, split the data out a bit more. There are more data points out there now. And I think rather than just having that one giant list that just gets sent, I think it's interesting now. More people are trying to segment out a bit more and do more. I think there's so much more that you can do. Finding the right team to work with as well. But anyway, I digress. I'm going to go into to one of these questions actually, which is quite interesting, which is basically is trends. So this was basically Based on your experience, Fanatic, what digital marketing trends do you see shaping the hospitality sector right now? Be interesting to. We talked about AI, but you get to see a lot across the board.
Yeah, I think AI is definitely one. I mean, but I'd say that's just a theme generally across the world. How that particularly intersects with booking journeys is an interesting one. So OpenTable, I can now book entirely a restaurant experience without ever needing to do anything other than use my LLM to do it. Now that's interesting for me as a human being trying to book, and I can love that. It's really opaque for me as a marketer going, I'm back to my financial services days. I've got there was a booking and I have no idea how I got it. Well, it's an interesting. So
how even did you upsell? That's the worst thing as well, right?
So how did I sell it? How can I do more of that? How do I need to do more of it? There's lots of other things that we see as trends and topics. Taxation. This is the hard times. Cosy live as the cost of living crisis, which manifests pretty much straight after COVID, it hasn't gone away.
No.
Things cost more. Why should I dine out in the first place? I can get a pretty good meal from a delivery company. I can cook my own. What is the purpose of going out, and how do we equate that into how can I, as an operator, tap into high-end experiences that people are still going to go out for their birthdays and their big occasions and dine out, but maybe I'm going to do it less frequently. We're seeing some of our clients are offering a takeout brand now where they weren't doing that before. It was only a dine-in experience. So tapping into that. So we've got kind of two interesting themes around the increased invisibility, opacity of journeys that can be caused by AI. I worry about AI generally going, I need to use it as a tool, but it's also an existential threat. But my customer's going to use it. So what to do? What's the right balance? The dichotomy of AI, as I've said before. But you're also coming into this changing human behavior, economics, the ability to justify and afford luxury. Some of it's luxury. So these are all challenges. And I think in a world where bricks and mortar, and you generally don't have restaurants or hotels, certainly without bricks and mortar, and it's been seen as subject to almost unfair game for taxation and levy, and how can I even operate a hospitality business anymore? So there's lots of those kind of almost feel like existential threats to the industry that we must navigate as marketers, agencies, and support operations that are hard to come by and under pressure, but loved. No one's. I hate the hospitality industry. It's no good. The hospitality industry is good for so much. Front of house teams, the experiences it creates, and it's beloved. But it seems to be under attack from lots of different threats. So those are kind of the big kind of things that we see and must navigate from a high up position.
I find it's interesting actually. There's some of the higher end venues are still very busy. People are still choosing that. Either the high net worth are still always going out, which is no problem, and then the people who are choosing to go will still go. So we find that they're still busy, which is interesting. We've got some clients in the US, and I was talking to them the other day, and because of the footfall space is so much bigger, the QSR restaurants have much more seats. And the casual dining are also very big as well. So you've got large footprint. And I was talking to someone, a marketer over there, and he was like, it's really interesting because the families that are going out for dinner that normally go to that casual dining restaurant are now just going to pop to the QSR for their family meal, because it's cheaper, the cost of living. Same thing over here as well as over here. But they'll go sit down there. So the casual, it's really, really interesting especially over there as well, because there's more space. So here you wouldn't necessarily go to a tiny QSR to sit down with your family meal, but maybe the takeaway has changed or something as well. So I think it's an interesting point all over the place of where having to twist your brand around or worry about the cost of living. It's a massive thing.
Yeah, and we see it manifest in the data as well. We see that walk-ins are up, and therefore pre-booking is down. So the consequence. So people are making, on the face of it, more reactive choices. Oh, let's do it. Oh, I saw it as I didn't have to queue or whatever to get in. So that is of interest. Again, that's in itself a challenge to restaurant operators, because how do I influence that? But the answer is probably the same. You know, it's still a brand. It's experience, it's reputation, it's reviews. People aren't just making a decision because I walked past, and there is a whole digital economy behind that before you get to that point. Some of the other things that we see coming out of that is this kind of reflection on emptiness and atmosphere. And you've got a big venue and it's half full. That half full might be great, but it can feel empty, and you're not going to maximize that. So how do you have that kind of sense of, I've still got an atmosphere, a buzz, even though I've got fewer clients in? And we have seen those bigger, those higher end, those luxury restaurants come under pressure and close down. They've been trading happily for 20, 25 years plus. And I think there is a sense of almost in that kind of a tiredness of like, can I even win? We don't need that kind of like that to be. You can feel it. It's almost sensory from the industry that like it's really tough. And is it worth it at some point? Well, it is worth it, but yeah, we need to see some changes and support from elsewhere.
Yeah. I'm glad that that's the problems out there now. That's definitely got to pick up a lot of traction, which is really good news. I just we can talk forever about the challenges in hospitality. I think it's interesting actually, because some of the brands who always thought they were safe aren't necessarily so safe anymore, and it's given not the COVID way, but it's given people to look at what they're doing and how do we make beneficial change, which I think also benefits you guys a little bit as well, because they'll come to you and say, we've seen this drop, what do we need to do it? And then part of the agency piece is that we can make this better for you.
Yeah, and the advantage is we see it from all different angles.
Yeah, and you guys see it from the outside, right?
Well. See it from the outside, we can see it from other clients' perspectives, and we're not ever going to share what individual clients are doing, or strategically we can empathise and go, well, here's some things you might like to try, and it's much easier to speak to an agency about that who have got the breadth of it, rather than all right, it's just a complete problem to me. Many of the problems or challenges or opportunities are shared, right? So having that, who can say, right, this is a common thing. Yeah. So I thought it was just me. It's probably not.
Yeah. It's really interesting. All right, so I'm going to give you a round of applause. That is really interesting. I mean, we can probably talk a lot longer about it. It's really interesting to talk about. I think there's lots of challenges out there. I think to find the best partner to help you grow as a business and overview. I think outside eyes is always super important, and I think that's where some brands get stuck. And also that I spoke to someone the other day who said, if I went into a finance team and said you're all going to be fired and there's going to be one finance director, that would be outrage, right? But you're going to a marketing team and say we're slimming down your 5 to 1. And the business is just happy with it. Like, okay, fine, there's nothing we can do about it. I just have to do more work. So I think that one thing kills me. But the resource and the cost is obviously a challenge. But I think having a partner on the side is always really important. Having that resource on the edge is definitely important for if there's a single marketing director or maybe a marketing manager who hasn't got that time to be able to dip out into I've got this activation, I've got this to be done. Yeah. I think it's really important, and I think I think that's really important. So it's nice to be able to see some brands out there really helping companies like you guys. So so thank you for coming. This was really interesting. Your history is awesome. I love the pub thing. That's insane. I think that was great. But okay, I'm gonna hit to our quick fire questions. The first one. You sort of touched earlier as well, but it was best restaurants.
Best restaurant. I always go back to Le Relais de Venise, which is a state restaurant, and I was on very early journeys in the city, and a client took me out for lunch. And said, let's go there, and I had no expectation of what it would be, and it was very simple. Yeah, get your green salad, get your fruit, and then you get your steak brought out to you. So good. And then you get more steak. Yeah. So that was a really and more fries, and then you can choose maybe some cheese for dessert. And it's very, very simple, but simple done well, exceeding expectations. So I always go back to that was a really good experience.
I think that's consistency, right? Yeah. Because I've been there. I've only been there probably 5 times in my life, right? And I'll always smile because it comes exactly the same way. Yeah. You get your salad, That sauce is insane. I don't know how many calories are in it, but
Yeah.
the sauce is insane, and it's a great, that they do so well. It's and there's queues as well sometimes.
Exactly,
so yeah, great restaurant. Okay, best burger.
Ooh, I think it has to be my own burger that I made during lockdown. The kids wanted burgers and couldn't do anything, and I think I made them burgers the size of their head, triple stacked, homemade, freshly cut, cheese, bacon. I've still got the photo of about that height, and it's just they are the legendary burgers.
Yeah. Have you made them again since?
No, no. But then again, legends only ever need to be just once.
Yeah, I like that. That's great. You should do a campaign at home. Okay, best hotel.
I've always got a soft spot for the Lig and Arms in Broadway. It's just a beautiful little chocolate box town, and the Lig and Arms has always been very special. We've been there 3 or 4 times, and always for special occasions and memories, and just a great storied and beautiful venue in a great little town. So yeah, nice place to go.
Nice. Okay, so 2 questions for the next guest.
Who in your industry really inspires you? Where do you learn from? Where do you want to go? I want to be like this person, company, organisation. So I think that's
a good question.
That's what we're getting. What are your hopes for hospitality in the next 5 years? Where do you see the sector?
Yeah, that's a good one. That's really good. Very interesting question. She's coming in this afternoon, so I'm gonna have to get these over to her super quick. But thank you. That was really interesting. I think it's really important for people to understand what agencies actually do. Yeah. And so I think we've teed into it. And your history is, I think that's awesome. It's awesome history. I love it. So listen, I'm going to give you another round of applause. You can give everyone a wave goodbye. Thank you so much.